Okay, I think we are live. This is DTM. Good morning. How are you doing? It's that time of the day when you're just going to have to put everything down, take a moment to drink your coffee, and share 30 minutes with us today live on Facebook. Today we have an awesome guest. We're going to get started right now. Let's go. And I can hear myself. And so it's okay that people can hear me. They can hear my phone. This is live. We're live streaming, and this is how we do.
All right.
So let me double check that I can see myself. And there it is. That's right. It's good. And it's on
awesome.
Facebook. So we're going to go ahead and get started. You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready to go. Let's get it done.
do this.
All right.
All right. So I'm back. This is DTM. Got my big cup of coffee. You know, it's kind of, I'm already halfway down to the middle of this cup. So it's going to be time for a refill. Make sure you got your coffee ready, your donuts, your snack, morning snack, before lunch snack. And we're going to have an awesome interview with a great, talented artist. His name is Wendell. Good morning, Wendell. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me here, and I'm happy to talk to you about my experience and everything that I've gone through as an artist.
All right, that's great. Let's take a sip of coffee. And somebody's at the door. So we're going to go ahead and let that person in. Go ahead, Josephine. Josephine.
Maybe we'll have another guest.
Josephine is behind in the director chair, and she's going to run and get the door.
Three-way coffee interview. It'll be great.
That's our other intern,
Okay.
Stephanie. We got about 7 interns around here. So, Wendell, tell us, what do you do?
I'm a 3D artist with a focus in character modeling, but I definitely pride myself on my adaptability. I have a very wide skill set. I can do animation, both motion capture and keyframe animation. I can do, let's see, I really enjoy lighting. I like doing in environments when I have time. I do a little bit of everything, so and that's definitely something that I pride myself on.
And I seen you post some of the 3D modeling stuff, right? You mentioned ZBrush and Maya.
Yeah, ZBrush is probably ZBrush and Maya are probably my main tools. I also use Substance Painter for texturing. I use either Keyshot, Arnold, or Marmoset Toolbag for rendering. And I'm very comfortable in Unity and Unreal. So,
wow, yeah, that's a lot of stuff.
Yeah, you know, and really that's all come from me just having to survive as an artist. You know, when you move to get a new job, go to a new studio, you have to adapt to whatever their workflow is. So really, I think, you know, the strongest thing I would love to say that my character modeling is my strongest asset, but really I think it's my ability to learn. I think that's probably my strongest tool. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's very important that no matter where you step into, that you're able to pick up something so that you can be part of the team.
Yeah.
And work. So tell us a little bit about you. Where are you from?
I'm born and raised right here in Atlanta, and I did live in California for about 3 years. I lived in New York for a couple of months after I graduated, but mainly, you know, I'm Atlanta boy, born and raised.
Really?
So, yeah.
So your family's here?
Yeah.
Sisters?
Yeah, I have 2 sisters and 3 brothers. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, and it's nice really having my family here because it's, you know, you have a lot of support here, and that's always great. And you can get to like see everybody. You don't have to like take a long trip just to see your family like I used to when I lived in California. Yeah.
Did you go to California for a job? Was you working on the gig?
So it really started when I graduated. I was a part of a program by Viacom. It's called the Summer Associate Program, and basically, out of 1,000 applicants, only 10 people were picked, and I was lucky enough to be one of those 10. And so basically what that was for about 3 months, they paid for you to live in New York. I lived in Manhattan. It was awesome. It was a great experience. Nice. And they put you in a division of Viacom based on what you studied in college. Being an animator, I got put with Nickelodeon. And so that's how I got my start in Nickelodeon games. And then after the Summer Associate Program, which I can talk more about later because there's a lot more like
we're gonna know.
complex
we want to know the
things
whole
that would
backstory.
happen during that program, including a project that we had to present to the COO of Viacom at the end of the 3 months. But anyway, that's how I got my start in Nickelodeon Games, and that ended up having me move to California for about
Okay.
3 years, where I worked for Nickelodeon Games, specifically with the division of the company that worked on Monkey Quest. So yeah, but eventually that division called the Virtual Worlds division got sold to another company called Jumpstart, and because of that, I ended up working at Jumpstart Games, and eventually that company downsized, and that's how I ended up back here.
Back to
And
ATL.
yeah. So, but we can go in more detail about my work history later. But
But
yeah,
that was cool.
Yeah.
That was cool. That right out of school.
yeah. I was very fortunate, and I'd like to think that I took full advantage of all the opportunities that I was given. And though working in games, it's still been tough because as everybody who works in the game industry knows, it's very volatile. So and that's also why I've kind of been trying to like feel my way into other things. Like for a while, I worked with Toto USA, which is a luxury bathroom products company. And I did lighting and rendering for them, which was a great experience because I got to work with CAD programs and work with engineers and kind of see that side of it. And it was very different from working at Nickelodeon Games, but it was still a very rewarding experience.
Okay.
Yeah,
Nice. So it sounds like you love animation.
I do. I think my main love, and anybody who went to school with me in SCAD is gonna know this about me. But I love the human anatomy. At first it was just drawing the human anatomy, but now mainly like with my personal projects, it's all going to be character sculpting, and it's all going to have you'll notice throughout all my work that it's going to have a lot of focus on human anatomy. I love the structure of the body, and it's something that I'm learning more and more about every day. And I'm definitely not a master at it, but I'm on a journey just like every other artist, trying to perfect those skills and refine those skills. And I think one day I'll be be really good at it, and then I'll just be amazing.
Nice.
But I'm working on it. Yeah.
All right. So tell us about your upbringing, growing up, because you came from a lot of brothers and sisters. There's six of you,
Yeah.
right? And so what is your what number are you in the six?
I was in the middle.
In the
I was
middle?
I was a middle child, and growing up, I wasn't like most. I don't even want to say I don't know if most people are like that, but I never like wondered what I wanted to do with my life. I always knew, like when I was a kid, I was like, oh, I want to make video games. 'Cause I love playing video games. I was really into Final Fantasy, Legend of Dragoon. I love the games that were very beautiful, and had great visuals. And I was like, I don't really know how this happens, but I want to do this. This is what I want.
Was there a cartoon or something on TV that you saw that inspired you to want to try it out, or that
I
sparked that
think-
imagination?
I remember I have a very vivid memory of playing Soul Calibur, the first one for the Dreamcast.
Yes.
And in the first Soul Calibur, they had just like a section of the game where you could just view fan art of the game. Because I guess this is kind of like before the internet really exploded, I guess. And it was when I was a kid. And so they just had all this like fan art of Soul Calibur characters, and I remember I would just like sit and like look at those works, and I would just draw myself, and I just knew this is what I want. I want this. This is what I want to do. Yeah.
And so so you're in school, you're looking at this artwork, and do you take art classes in school? Did you try
and
competitions?
I think I was actually very fortunate, particularly in high school, because I went to Riverwood High School, which is up in Sandy Springs.
Okay.
Has a great art program. I got to take all the art history courses. I got to take the only AP class I took was AP art, and I took like AP art like for every year I was in like all 4 years of high school. And I think I guess I always liked to draw, but I wouldn't say that I was I guess nobody's really like this, but I wouldn't say I was great at drawing out of the womb. Like I wasn't preternaturally skilled.
No.
But I learned. I had great art teachers who taught me how to break down forms into basic shapes and to construct more complex objects out of basic shapes. And I was taught how to draw. I believe that art it's a technique. And a lot of people think, artists are just good artists. No, they had to learn the correct way of doing things, the correct technique. And I believe that if you can learn the correct technique, then you can put out great art.
There you go.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so that's the philosophy that's allowed you to learn at all types of different programs.
Yeah. Interestingly enough, when I started at so after I got laid off from Jumpstart Games as a downsized company, I started at EQ Games, which is the last role that I had. And when I started at the company, I didn't know anything about Unity. I knew nothing about it. But I was given an art test, to get the job. Where it was, okay, well, you need to animate this character in Motion Builder, which I knew how to do. I was comfortable with Motion Builder, but then I had to import it into Unity and to get into correctly importing animations into Unity such they could be used in the game. And over the course of like 24 hours, I just had to figure it out, and I did, and I was very proud of myself. It taught me that I'm not afraid to take any role. I will jump in head first into any job, and I have complete confidence that I can do it.
Nice. That's good. Because so did you go home and learn it on your own, like on YouTube videos?
Yeah, I think YouTube is probably my primary resource of learning things. When I was at SCAD, I had Linda, which is very good. What's also just, I think, underrated in terms of learning new things is just read the documentation.
Yeah.
Unity has excellent documentation, and it will help you, and it will explain things. Also, Maya has a really good documentation too. Like they do a great job. Autodesk, I think, does a great job of having everything laid out, not necessarily in simple terms, but but organized way. So that if you want to figure it out, you can.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's really cool. So when you were in high school, did you know that you wanted to go to SCAD? Is that what did you try other schools?
To be completely honest, I remember taking my AP art course took a trip to SCAD when I was in high school, and I don't think I was necessarily swayed by anything I saw at that trip, but because of my AP art course, I was offered like a decent scholarship, so that really played into my reason to go to SCAD. And it was in a hometown. I went to SCAD Atlanta. I didn't go to SCAD Savannah, so it was in my hometown. So it just made a lot of sense.
Yeah. How long did you spend in school, and what was your focus?
4 years. I was an animation major. One of my regrets about SCAD is that I wish, if I could go back and talk to myself, I would say, figure out your focus now, before year one. Know exactly what you want to do, not just animation, but do you want to be a texture artist? Do you want to be great at rendering? Do you want to be a character modeler? And that's naturally what I was drawn to because, of my appreciation for the human form. But, I would have told myself to try to stick to a focus, and for your senior film, don't do it alone. Now, I was very happy with how my senior film came out, and I got I aced it, and that was fine. But I think I could have gotten a better result had I convinced me and some of my close friends whose skills I appreciated and who I had faith in. I think if we had worked together on one thing, because I don't even include my senior film in my reels anymore. Like it doesn't hold up. However proud of it I was at the time. I would have wanted to work with some of my close friends, and we can pool what we're all good at. Because I was good at modeling, and I had another friend who might have been a little bit better at animation than me. But if we combined our skills, and it would have had a better result overall.
Nice. Well, you already brought up my last question of the day. What would you tell yourself? Your past self.
So many things.
What kind of advice would you give yourself? But it's okay.
I didn't realize
We're going at your order.
It.
You're going in your order. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, sorry. I have like a jump back and forth.
I am going to ask you, why do you say that you should have a focus? What happened? Did you keep changing your mind when you were in school?
No, I really, if I'm being completely honest.
Yes, please be honest.
Completely honest, I needed a job. So when the opportunity came for me to take that lighting and rendering job at Toto, I took it because it paid well, and I needed a job. And I would love to only do the one thing that I'm really passionate about, but I just haven't found that it's feasible, to survive and do that. So I have to take when an opportunity was presented to me, 9 times out of 10 I would take it.
I see.
Yeah.
But when you were in SCAD, you said that you wish you had focused or found
Mm-hmm.
the one thing you wanted to do. Was that because you kept jumping around?
Really, because of the curriculum demanded it that you be a generalist. SCAD
I see.
put out generalist.
I see.
That's not necessarily a bad thing, especially if you're trying. When I worked at EQ Games, which was a small studio, it was great that I had all these different skills. I knew how to do rigging. I knew how to do animation. I knew modeling, texturing, everything. I knew the whole 9 yards.
Right.
And I was good at a small studio, but like when I was at Nickelodeon, it would have been better for me to be good at one thing and really good at one thing. And so,
And why is that? Because
I think larger studios want specialists. Larger studios want specialists because they can afford to have just one guy doing textures. They can afford that. They can afford just one guy doing animation.
so that's the pipeline. You got something coming this way, and then you do your
and,
thing and spit it out
now,
the other
to
way.
be fair, it's important, I think, for a 3D artist to know the last thing in the pipeline and the next thing in the pipeline in between where you are, right?
Right.
So if you're a modeler, you need to know a little bit about rigging so you know how to place those edge loops to create good deformations.
I see.
If you're a animator, you should know the rigging process, because if you see that the model isn't deforming correctly, maybe then you can better work with the rigger to fix it.
I see.
If so you want to know, you don't want to be such a specialist that you only know how to do that one particular thing, but you do want to know a little bit about the parts of the pipeline behind and in front of you, I think.
And what do you enjoy most? Being able to move around from position to position, or sitting down and doing the thing that you like to do?
Sitting down and doing the thing that I like to do. I mean, but I think that's natural. It just hasn't seemed realistic in my experience. Especially with how volatile the game industry is, and you having to move around and change jobs frequently. It's been important to me to know lots of different skill sets.
Right.
And maybe in another alternate timeline, I could have gone back and said, okay, Wendell, if you focus on just character modeling and SCAD, then you won't ever have to, look that hard for a job, because you'll be so good at character modeling that you'll never not have
You
it.
can get so good at something that's it. That's your calling, and people will look for you for
There's that is a thing, and that's my goal. I think that's the end of my journey as an artist, is to get that skill, that character modeling, which is the thing I enjoy the most.
Right.
That I can just do that.
We're gonna talk about that in a second. We're gonna double check our sound. We got sound. Are we okay?
Oh God,
Let's talk to our
all?
director real quick. Are we okay?
It went out a little bit.
Okay.
Oh God, did I just
It's
say
just
all
loud
that
on
stuff?
that one. Yeah, it's gonna be loud on that one.
Over here it sounds fine, but it went out for a moment.
All right, cool. Let's go to the big camera while we're sitting here talking, and go to that camera in the back. Oh, are we losing stuff?
Yeah, we lost a camera.
And right now, what's going on is that we're having a great interview here with Wendell. Wendell, and then we have our Cinamaker crew checking on Cinamaker and making sure everything's working and sounding well. We have a big shot going on back there, and we're using iPads and iPhones to live stream to Facebook. We're sitting in a Cinamaker set in Buckhead, Atlanta.
Yeah, this is a really awesome setup. It's
Thank you.
crazy how powerful mobile devices have become.
Yeah.
Nowadays I can just I guess when I was going through SCAD, I couldn't just have my my model just be in a viewer that you can tumble around in a browser. I think that's really one of the most crazy developments in technology, that I can just tumble around a high poly 3D model on my iPhone. It's crazy to me. I love that that's a thing now.
Right. And you were talking about Soul Calibur earlier, and it's like those game machines. Like there's so much power now on
Yeah.
the smartphone compared to what those game machines could do.
And that's I think that's another reason why it's so important to keep learning, because the technology is always getting better and better, and what's possible artistically is always expanding. So you as an artist have to continue to develop your skill. You can never get complacent.
That's
you
good.
can't ever stop practicing. You
Yes.
have to keep going. And
Keep going.
Yeah.
That's right. How we looking? We okay? I'm checking with my director over here.
We're okay. We keep losing sound.
It-
It keeps saying it's out of range.
Is
Am
that
I
what
not
it-
close enough to the mic?
No, it's not you.
No,
So that's all. But we still. So when it says out of range and it stops, it drops out.
it drops out and then it picks back up and like speeds up really, really fast. Like
Oh,
goes through
okay.
all of the
Trying to-
audio that you've missed.
Oh, okay, I got you. All right. Well, we're gonna monitor that. It's okay. It's all right. We got another 10 minutes, so hopefully it stays. Is everything's cool? Yeah, it's okay. So let me know when it drops and it stops, so then we can just figure out what to do.
Okay.
In the meantime, yeah, you let me know. Yeah, you can just scream out and go and say something because we're live. All right, that's what happens
doing
with
it
live
live.
stuff. Sometimes technology is so great, and then sometimes it doesn't work.
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, it's like game development. Sometimes it just doesn't work.
And sometimes, and then you unplug everything and plug it back up, and then it works fine.
Yeah.
And you didn't do anything different.
I don't
Right,
know what
that's
I did. I
crazy,
fixed it though.
Okay. So do we have my camera somewhere? Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got you. Good. Cool. All right. So, last thing I wanted to say is that yes, we're at Cinamaker Studios. We're having a good time. We go live ever so often, as much as we can, and try to talk to artists in the industry, creatives who are doing the thing they'd like to do, and share a little bit of their story. So, the business. Let's talk a little bit about the business.
Okay.
Because you say it's volatile. Yes, there's been a lot of gaming studios, a lot of in the news, a lot of laid off designers, illustrators, modelers, all of this, different developers. So what is it that what is it that in your experience that you've had to do to? Yeah, I know you mentioned always learning and practicing, but what is it that you've had to do in order to find the next job?
For me, it's been very important that I be open to experiences that I'm not necessarily the most comfortable with. I think it's a huge asset. It has been a huge asset for me to know that in any role that I jump into, I can quickly adapt to it. I've been able to just jump in a role and just be gone full speed day one. But when I know that I'm interviewing for a job or about to get the job, I become familiar with the tools of that studio. I become familiar with
get
their
your head in
pipeline.
that game.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I crack open that documentation. I watch YouTube videos. I find tutorials wherever I can find them, like whether it's on like Pinterest or Facebook or ArtStation. I figure it out, and being adaptable has been really the only way I've been able to survive, to be completely honest, and I don't, it's kind of, and I guess in a way kind of sad, but also like, it is how it is.
Right, but it's still, I think that it's important that we talk about this part because some people feel that if they were to just be an artist and earn as an artist or some kind of creative field, that their life problems are solved. And it's not that like that. I think it's you still have to manage your life and be an adult and make adult decisions, and in the market for animation, gaming, or everything else is the same as any other kind of job.
I think it's harder in a lot of ways because, let's face it, our job is fun. Doing art for a living is fun, and that's why we do it, because we enjoy it, we love it. But a lot of people love it.
A lot.
So you have to
There's a
accept
lot
that
of
it's very competitive. And you have to. It's great that if you find your niche, but if you don't necessarily find your niche, then you have to be able to fit in whatever in whatever like slot presents itself. But the thing is, though, I've been able to find enjoyment in jobs that I didn't think I was going to. Like, for example, the Toto job, where worked for a high-end luxury bathroom company, just lighting their. I worked for their marketing division. I would light their products in a. I forget the name of the renderer they use, but it was kind of like KeyShot. I would also do like particle animation in Maya to demonstrate the functionality of some of their products, particularly the EcoPower line. That's maybe going into too much detail.
Yeah, I have no idea what you're talking
but
about.
Yeah,
I'm okay with it.
It's
Go ahead.
basically I simulated I used particle animation to simulate water flowing through a product.
Nice.
Yeah, and I I didn't really know anything about particle animation, but I was like, oh, I know that's a thing that I can do. So I did it.
Yeah.
And so that I found enjoyment in that. And that wasn't necessarily games. It wasn't necessarily and I don't think I would have been happy there forever. But I think it's important that as creatives we learn to ply our trade and find enjoyment in however that presents itself.
Yes.
Because you're not always gonna have. I love my job at EQ Games. I love my job at Nickelodeon Games. I love my job at Jumpstart. But they weren't forever. So we for our own like peace of mind, we should understand it. Art's important. It is. That's how you sell products. Is you have to market them, and part of that is appearances, and that's what we're in the market of. We're in the trade of making things look good. So I think we have to try to understand it. If we're doing that, we're gonna be able to pay our bills, which is gonna bring a lot of peace of mind. But like doing those particle animations was fun. It was fun. It's hard. Being an artist is really difficult. But I think that's what we pay for, to enjoy what
To
we
have
do,
the fun,
to
right.
wake up and not hate what we do every day.
Right.
I think part of it was I wanted to give someone the same experience that I had as a child when I played Soul Calibur, and I was like, oh, this is beautiful. I want this. I want to do that for someone else. But besides that, I want to not wake up every day and just hate what I'm about to do. I think that's a huge fear of mine, to just to have to do that, to just hate what I do every day.
Right.
Anyway, but
Have you ever had jobs, regular people
yeah,
jobs,
I have.
that you hated?
It was
Give me one.
exactly as bad as I thought it was. I worked at Amazon for a while,
Okay.
and I did it was like a call center job.
And
It
location,
wasn't,
or is it on the phone?
no, it
over the
was
phone?
actually at home. It was like not even a hard job. It was not a hard job. It was not.
But you hated it.
But I hated it.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
was so miserable.
Yeah.
I couldn't stand it. It was bad for my mental health too.
Yeah.
So to be fair, that motivated me to improve my work even more, because I
Right.
was like, I am so miserable every day. I just channeled that into trying to find something else. And I did.
And I think that's a good example when we like to say that the pain of that experience should be greater than the pain of the discipline of getting your talents and skills up to get the job you want, right? Because it's going to be a sacrifice one way or the other.
Yeah. I mean, as creatives, we do have to be able to do something that we don't hate every day. We have to sacrifice tremendously.
Something else,
Yeah, that's gonna be hanging out with friends. It's gonna be relationships. It's gonna be sometimes your financial security you got to sacrifice. Like it's hard what we're doing, but but we love it, so it's okay.
Right. So I got a last couple questions. So let's number one, where do we find you online?
So I have an ArtStation page. I recently changed all of my social media names to WBW 3D Art. So that's my initials, Wendell Barton Whittaker, 3D Art.
It dropped again. Hold on 1 second.
Okay.
Let's double check that we're good. We're getting some comments that it only dropped for a couple of seconds.
Are we good?
It sounds good.
Okay.
All right, cool. I may have to change my headphones,
Okay.
because I think those headphones are also a little beat up.
No, it's saying on the screen.
It's saying it on the screen? Oh, okay. Cool. All right, so you recently changed your
Yep.
because I told you to.
Yeah, you did. You gave me some good advice, and that's another thing is being a creative. You got to be receptive to critique and good advice.
So it's
WBW 3D art.
WB
Wendell Barton Whittaker, just WBW.
3D 3D art. And so that's your Facebook, Twitter,
Facebook,
Instagram.
Twitter, Instagram, ArtStation, everything.
Nobody's gonna use that WBW.
I don't think so.
3D art, huh?
Yeah, I don't think
so. That's a lot of W's and.
Yeah, maybe. It's better. I guess it's better than my full name and then 3D art. Yeah,
It's
which
good.
is what it was. It was just my Wendell Whittaker 3D art. But shorting it was a good idea.
Yeah, and keeping it consistent across all platforms. So then you just throw that one out, and then everybody knows. Because like mine is Delta Tango Mike, so that's my website, that's my Instagram, Twitter, everything. So then people only have to remember one thing, Delta Tango Mike.
I would be very surprised if there's another WBW who also does that. that would be like I don't know how that happened.
It's gonna have to be. You're gonna have to battle him out.
I gotta fight.
Yeah, you have to fight, yeah.
There can only be one.
That's right. So okay, last couple questions. What is the job that you want? Doing what you like to do, all the software you know, everything you know. What is the position that you're looking for now?
Lead character artist in NetherRealm Studios. That would be if I do that, I'm done. I did it. I did what I wanted to do. I'm done. Yeah, that'll be it. I would have completed my dream, and I would have my life will have come full circle. Yeah,
that's good. And the last question is, if you're talking to an up-and-coming animator, somebody who wants to animate, can you give us like 2 or 3 tools or software or techniques they need to learn to be good at their job, to be worthy of a job? And is there a difference between an animator for animation shows, film, TV, and versus an animator for games?
Okay, this is all just going to be a long answer.
There you go.
But,
yes, take your time, brother. Take your time. We're in no rush.
The first thing that I would tell any animator, but also just any artist, learn anatomy. Number one thing, learn your anatomy.
Please.
Yeah, and so if you get that, then that is going to be a lot of battles that you've already won. If you have good anatomy. As far as tools, I would recommend learning Autodesk Maya. I would recommend learning ZBrush. And I would recommend learning Substance Painter. If you have those 3, then you have good rendering, you have good modeling, you have good texture creation, that's. I think those are the main 3. I like presenting. I like rendering my models, especially if it's a real-time model meant for a game. I would either render that in Marmoset Toolbag or I'd render that in Unreal. As far as let's see, what were some other parts of that question?
It's just is there a difference in animating for
films and animating for games? So animating for games is going to involve a lot of cycles. It also is likely going to involve more motion capture animation. So if you're trying to animate for games, I recommend learning Motion Builder, which is the primary tool that I use to process motion capture data.
Okay.
If you're animating for film, I would just say, Maya is going to be the main thing you use. And you'll probably want to learn good rigging too if you're going to focus strictly on animation. I would say you also want to learn how to rig too, just so you understand what is broken if a rig breaks, so that you can talk to the rigger who's in your company and say, hey, such and such, maybe you need more edge loops here because this isn't bending correctly. I would also recommend whenever you animate something, spend a couple of hours, or even modeling something, spend a couple of hours or maybe even days beforehand gathering reference. You never want to work without reference. Never do it, because what's in your mind is distorted compared to reality. So you want to spend a lot of time gathering reference, whether it's doing character modeling, whether it's modeling props,
costumes,
clothes, so also if you're trying to model clothes, and I'm still learning this program, so but Marvelous Designer, it makes it, I guess I would liken it to how actual people who make fashion make clothes, but digitally.
Oh, okay.
So you know, if you're trying to do costumes, I recommend Marvelous Designer.
That's a lot of stuff, man. You made a ton of things.
Yeah,
I have to go back and watch this again just so I can write notes.
Yeah. So and Marvelous Designer is actually really fun to use too. It's like, man, maybe I could have been a fashion designer in one life. But yeah,
All right.
learn, keep learning too. When you're an animator, we used to always say in SCAD that if you're an animator, you have to know everything, right? Like, because one day you might be called upon to model a car. You have to know how a car looks, at least on the exterior. You at least have to know how the body of a car or the anatomy of a car works. All animators or modelers or 3D artists have to understand not only the anatomy of the human body, but also the anatomy of materials, how things change over time, how wear affects certain materials rather than other materials. What I do is extremely complicated,
Right.
but I love it, so it's okay.
All right, well, that's good. That's good. I appreciate that. I'm going to check and see if we got our main camera. Do we have a main camera? Good. So thank you, everybody, for being here and listening to this great, awesome interview with Wendell.
Nice to meet you guys.
And please, I hope you took notes. If you did not, I want you to go back and watch this video. Share it everywhere on Facebook that you can. Let the world know that we're having Coffee Break with DTM, that's Delta Tango Mike. And every other day when we go live, we talk to awesome illustrators, artists, designers, creatives. And stay tuned for more. I appreciate you. I am Delta Tango Mike. Check out artisking_ATL. And thank you, sir, for your time.
No problem. Thank you guys for having me.
And we'll see you next time. Thank you all. Peace out.